Hey, welcome back to MacBreak Studio. I'm Mark Spencer. A couple of weeks ago, I published a MacBreak Studio tutorial on how to use motion to create a camera move transition for Final Cut Pro 10. There's a link in the description field if you want to go back and check that out. Here it is here in Final Cut. If I throw it on an edit point and play, you'll see how a clip pulls back to reveal the next clip. So the camera pulls back, pushes forward, and reveals the next clip. Now, what I want to show you this week is how to take this transition a little bit further. So what we're going to do is right-click on it right here and choose Open in Motion. In Motion, I'm going to go to the perspective view just so we can see the current action. I'll select the camera so we see the camera outline, and we can see that the camera moves back and pushes through from the first clip to the second clip, which is great. And last time we talked, I talked about how you could move this transition B anywhere and the camera would follow it because we've used a framing behavior, and we could adjust the camera to make it do things like do this little pullback first. This week, what I want to talk about is adding a reflective floor for a little bit more visual interest. I'm going to go back to the active camera view, and you notice when we pull back, we're just in this empty black space. Well, let's take care of that. To do that, I'm going to go to the library, and I'm going to go to Generators, and I'll select the Generators category, and I'm going to select this one called Color Solid. With the playhead at the beginning of the project, I'll just drag this right into this group that contains my other elements. Then I'll hold the Shift key down and drag up on this X rotation handle to rotate it around the X-axis exactly 90 degrees. So now it's completely flat, and I'm going to pull it down so it's like a floor, and roughly get it in place. At this point, what I want to do is go to the inspector, to the properties, and you'll notice that there is a new position Y value since we moved it down, and the rotation value of minus 90 degrees. Now, let's go to the perspective view. And I want this to just intersect this transition here, so I'll position it right about there. And it's much too small, so let's go to the top view. This time I'll use the compass to do that. And we can see it needs to be much bigger. So what I'm going to do is drag it way back. I'll also hold the Option key down and drag left to expand it in both directions this way too. Let's also hold the Option key down and expand it this way. It gives us more flexibility. We really only need to see the reflection around here and around here. So we could use two very small solids to do that. But by using a large one, I increase my flexibility because I can move, especially transition B, anywhere else. So let's check this out. I'll go back to the perspective view. And to make things a little easier to see, let me pan over here. I'm just going to go up to the View pop-up menu and turn off this 3D grid so we can see our floor a little bit better. Now with this color solid still selected, in its properties, I'm going to check reflection. And suddenly we get this nice reflection. And we can see there's a little gap there, so I'll just drag it up so it just contacts right about there. And let's also pull it out a little bit more, although we'll never see that full amount, but just so we can see it here while we're working. If I show the reflection properties, we can adjust how reflective it is, 100% or back it off. We can blur that reflection, and I'll leave it with the blur turned off. And we can enable fall off, which I really like because it makes the reflection disappear as if this surface is something like a wood surface or something that's not perfectly reflective. In fact, if you show the fall off properties, you can choose the beginning distance, the end distance, a little more interesting, where that fade out happens, and the exponent, kind of how the fade out happens. You can adjust those to taste. The other thing I'll do while we're here is go to the Generator tab and change the color to black. So we just see the reflection. So now if we go back to the active camera view and we play this project, we can see we have this nice reflective floor as we pull back and go into the next clip. Now you're not limited to black. What I could do is take this color solid and switch it to white. I'll go down here and make sure we're very white. And that looks kind of good, except that our background is not white. Now, how do we take care of that? Let's also adjust this color side up just a tiny bit so it really touches the floor. So the background, I'll select the project, I'll go to the properties for the project, and we have a default background color, which is black. I'll change that to white. One way you can do this to make sure it's matching the exact white is click here, click the sampler, and go ahead and sample that white. And that way we make sure we don't get a seam where this background meets the floor. The cool thing about this background is that it exists everywhere in 3D space, so no matter where the camera looks, you'll always see that white background. Another key part, though, is to change the transparent setting for the background to solid. Otherwise, it won't be rendered, it won't be included when we're in Final Cut Pro. So I'll change that to solid, and now when we pull back, we have an entire environment of white with a nice reflective floor. Let's take this one more step and go to the top view and change the position of our transition B. So I'll select it, I'll drag it over here, I'll rotate it, maybe I'll pull it down here and over here. Now if I select the camera, we can see the camera pulls back and still goes and frames that because of that framing behavior. The camera will always frame that exactly. Let's play that in the active camera view. And we get that very nice pullback. In fact, if you want to accentuate that pullback, we could select that framing behavior, go back to the top view, and I'll pan my view up a little bit so we can see the whole thing. And I have really great flexibility on how much that camera pulls back. With the framing behavior selected, I'm just adjusting how and where it pulls back. I could even move it up and down as well, but right now I really just like moving it along this same plane. So let's have it pull back more like that and look at that back in the active camera view. Great, I really like that. I'm going to choose to save this as a new file, so I'll choose Save As, and I'll call it Cam Move with Floor, and I'll put it in that same Camera Transitions folder. I'll publish it, then switch back to Final Cut Pro, and I'll use this and replace the existing version. And there we go. And of course, I can change its duration by trimming it to the extent that I have handles to do so. If you're interested in creating these kind of effects for Final Cut Pro 10, our Warp Speed 3D is right up your alley, so check it out. Thanks for watching.